You need to help your brother. Family comes first, Mariana. I stared at my phone, reading the text message from my father for the third time. The audacity was breathtaking. My hands trembled as I sat at my kitchen table in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, trying to process what he was asking. $2,200 for my brother's graduation party. Not a request, a demand. My name is Mariana, and I'm 29 years old. I work as a dental hygienist at a busy practice downtown, and I'm a single mother to the most wonderful 5-year-old boy named Lucas. His father left before he was born, and honestly, that was probably for the best. What wasn't for the best was my own family's treatment of us over the years. I looked across the room at Lucas, who was building a tower with his blocks on the living room floor. His dark curls bounced as he concentrated, tongue poking out slightly the way kids do when they're focused. He had no idea what had happened just 3 days ago. Or maybe he did. And he was just better at hiding his hurt than I gave him credit for. 3 days ago was Lucas's 5th birthday party. I had sent invitations to my parents, my brother Tyler, and my younger sister Bethany 6 weeks in advance. I called to confirm. I texted reminders. I even offered to pick them up if transportation was an issue, though they all lived within 20 minutes of my house. The party was supposed to start at 2 in the afternoon. I had rented a bounce house, ordered a custom superhero cake that cost me a week's worth of groceries, and invited Lucas's friends from preschool. I decorated the backyard myself, staying up until midnight the night before stringing lights and hanging banners. Lucas kept asking when Grandpa and Grandma were coming, when Uncle Tyler would arrive. He wanted to show them his new bicycle, the one I'd saved for months to buy. Every car that passed, he'd run to the window, pressing his little hands against the glass. "Are they here, Mama?" My heart broke a little more each time I had to say no, not yet. By 3 o'clock, all his friends had arrived. The bounce house was full of squealing children. But my family? Nothing. Not a call. Not a text. Complete silence. I called my mother. Straight to voicemail. I called my father. Same thing. Tyler didn't even have his read receipts on, so I couldn't tell if he'd seen my messages. Bethany, who was 23 and still lived at home with our parents, sent a brief text around 4. "Sorry, something came up." Something came up. That was it. No explanation. No apology to Lucas. Just those 3 words. I smiled through the party, took photos, helped Lucas blow out his candles. But inside, I was dying. Watching him glance at the door every few minutes, hope fading from his eyes each time, was torture. When the last guest left and I was cleaning up wrapping paper and cake crumbs, Lucas came up to me. His voice was so small. "Mama, did I do something wrong? Is that why they didn't come?" I pulled him into my arms, fighting tears. "No, baby. You didn't do anything wrong. Not a single thing." But sitting here now, reading my father's text demanding money for Tyler's graduation party, I realized something. This wasn't the first time. It wasn't even the second time. This was a pattern, and I had been too blind, or too hopeful, or too desperate for their approval to see it clearly. Last year, they had also skipped Lucas's 4th birthday. My mother claimed she had a headache. My father said he had to work. Tyler didn't respond at all. But 2 weeks later, when Tyler needed money for car repairs, my father had called me directly, expecting me to contribute $300 because that's what family does. I had paid it. Like an idiot, I had paid it. The year before that, they came to Lucas's 3rd birthday party, but left after 20 minutes because Bethany wanted to go shopping. They hadn't even watched him blow out the candles. I looked at my father's text again. The message was clinical, transactional. "Tyler's graduation party is next month. We need $2,200 to cover the venue and catering. Your mother and I are contributing $1,500. You and Bethany should split the rest. Send $2,200 by Friday." The math didn't even make sense. If they were contributing $1,500 and Bethany and I were splitting the rest, why would I owe $2,200? But that was typical of my father. Numbers were whatever he needed them to be to get what he wanted. I thought about my savings account, the one I had been building for Lucas's future, for emergencies, for the security we didn't have. $2,200 would wipe out nearly a third of it. For a party. For my brother. The same brother who couldn't be bothered to show up for my son's birthday. Something hardened in my chest. A decision forming, sharp and clear. I had spent my entire adult life trying to be the good daughter, the reliable one, the one who showed up and paid up and never complained. Where had it gotten me? Sitting alone at my kitchen table while my son asked if he'd done something wrong. I opened my banking app and stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I typed in the amount, $1. In the memo line, I wrote, "Best wishes." I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The confirmation screen glowed on my phone. Payment sent, $1. My heart pounded. I had never defied my father like this. Never. Growing up, he ruled our household with an iron fist disguised as disappointed silence. He didn't yell often, but his quiet disapproval could crush you. My mother enabled every bit of it, always siding with him, always making excuses. I grew up in a house where Tyler could do no wrong, and Bethany was the baby who needed protecting. I was the middle child, the reliable one, the one who didn't need attention, because I could handle things myself. Parentification, I learned later in therapy. The term for when you turn a child into an adult too early. When I was 12 and Tyler was 9, I was the one making sure he had his homework done and his lunch packed. When Bethany was born, I was 14, and suddenly I had a third shift, making bottles, changing diapers, walking the floors at night when she cried so my parents could sleep. Mariana's so responsible, people would say, and my parents would beam with pride. What they meant was, Mariana's so useful. I learned not to ask for help. When I wanted to go to the homecoming dance in high school, my mother said we couldn't afford the dress, but 3 months later Tyler got a brand new gaming console for his birthday. When I graduated high school, we had cake at home. When Tyler graduated 2 years ago, they threw him a party at a restaurant and invited 50 people. The pattern was so clear now, looking back. But when you're living it, when it's all you know, you think maybe this is just how families work. Maybe you're asking for too much. Maybe you're being selfish. Getting pregnant with Lucas at 23 had been unplanned. His father, a guy I'd dated for 4 months, disappeared when I told him. My parents' reaction was predictable. Disappointment wrapped in, "we'll support you" statements that never quite materialized into actual support. They didn't come to any of my prenatal appointments. Didn't help me set up the nursery. When I went into labor 2 weeks early and called my mother in a panic, she said she couldn't come to the hospital because she had plans with Bethany. I had Lucas alone. Well, not entirely alone. A wonderful nurse named Patricia held my hand through the worst of it. But no family. No one who was supposed to love me unconditionally. After Lucas was born, things got slightly better. My parents would visit occasionally, bring small gifts. They liked showing pictures of their grandson to their friends. But the deeper issues remained. Every family gathering was structured around what Tyler needed, what Bethany wanted. Lucas and I were afterthoughts. When Lucas was 18 months old, my car broke down. I called my father because I didn't know what else to do. The repair estimate was $800, money I didn't have. He lectured me for 20 minutes about financial responsibility before finally agreeing to lend me the money. Lend, not give. I paid him back in full within 6 months, even though it meant eating rice and beans for weeks. 2 years later, Tyler totaled his car driving drunk. My father paid for the replacement vehicle outright. $12,000, just like that. Tyler never paid him back. When I asked my mother about the double standard, she said, "Tyler's going through a hard time. He needs our support." And apparently I didn't. I had tried to talk to them about it once, about a year ago. I sat them down and explained how their favoritism hurt. how I felt invisible, how Lucas deserved grandparents who showed up for him. My father listened with his arms crossed, face impassive. When I finished, he said, "You've always been too sensitive, Mariana. We treat all our children the same." My mother nodded along. "You're imagining things. We love you all equally." Gaslighting. Another therapy term I learned later. After that conversation, I stopped trying to fix things. I maintained basic contact, sent obligatory birthday cards, showed up to holiday dinners, but I stopped expecting anything. Stopped hoping they'd suddenly see Lucas and me as worth their time and energy. Still, some stupid part of me had hoped they'd come to his birthday party. I had explicitly told them how much it meant to Lucas, how he talked about it for weeks, how excited he was to show them his new tricks on the monkey bars. They couldn't even send a text until 4 hours after the party started. Now, sitting in my kitchen with that $1 payment confirmation on my screen, I felt something shift. Not just anger, though there was plenty of that. Something colder, more calculated. I had been playing by their rules my entire life, and it had gotten me nowhere. Maybe it was time to make my own rules. My phone buzzed. A text from my father. "Mariana, I don't see the full payment. There must be a mistake with your bank. Please resend $2,200. I almost laughed. There was no mistake, but he couldn't even conceive of the possibility that I had sent exactly what I meant to send. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my contacts and scrolled to a number I'd saved 6 months ago but never called. A real estate attorney named Gregory who had helped my coworker with a property dispute. Because there was something my parents didn't know. Something I had been quietly working on since Lucas's 4th birthday party, when they first showed me exactly how little we mattered. The house I lived in, the one I'd been making payments on for 3 years, wasn't just in my name. Legally, it had been jointly owned by my father and me. He'd co-signed the mortgage when I was 26, just after Lucas was born, supposedly to help me qualify for better rates. At the time, I'd been grateful. Naive. I didn't realize it was another form of control. 6 months ago, after that conversation where they told me I was too sensitive, I'd started researching my options. I learned that I could refinance the house in my name alone if I could prove sufficient income and creditworthiness. It would cost money I didn't have easily available, but I'd been saving, cutting every possible expense. 3 months ago, I'd met with Gregory. He reviewed my finances and told me it was possible. Difficult, but possible. 2 months ago, I'd started the refinancing process. I'd told no one, not even my closest friend Destiny. This was my secret, my safety net, my escape route. And 1 month ago, the paperwork had gone through. The house was mine, solely, completely mine. My father's name was off the deed, off the mortgage, off everything. He just didn't know it yet. I had been waiting for the right moment to tell him. Or maybe I'd been waiting to see if he'd give me a reason to tell him. He just had. I texted Destiny, "Are you free tonight? Need to talk." She replied within seconds. "Always. Come over after you put Lucas to bed. Wine is already breathing." Destiny had been my friend since college. We'd met in a biology class, bonded over terrible cafeteria coffee, and somehow stayed close through all the chaos of our 20s. She was the only person who really understood my family situation, because she'd witnessed enough of it firsthand. She'd been at Lucas's birthday party 3 days ago. She'd seen him waiting by the window. She'd helped me hold it together when I wanted to fall apart. That evening, after I'd given Lucas his bath and read him 2 stories and promised him that yes, we could go to the park tomorrow, I drove the 15 minutes to Destiny's apartment. She opened the door before I could knock, 2 glasses of wine already poured. "Okay," she said, pulling me inside. "What happened? You have that look." "What look?" "The I'm about to do something either brilliant or crazy look. Maybe both." I sat on her couch and told her everything. The text from my father. The $1 payment. the house refinancing she didn't even know about. When I finished, she was staring at me with wide eyes. "You already took him off the deed? When?" "Last month. I've been sitting on it, waiting to see if they'd actually show up for Lucas this year. They didn't, and now my father wants $2,000 for Tyler's party like nothing happened." Destiny took a long drink of wine. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet, but I'm done. I'm done being the one who bends. Done being the one who pays up and shows up while getting nothing in return. They're going to lose their minds when they find out about the house. I know. Your father especially. He uses that co-signature as leverage, doesn't he?" She was right. Every time I'd pushed back on something over the past 3 years, my father would make some comment about the house we helped you get, or the financial support we provided. It was his trump card, his reminder that I owed them. Except I didn't. Not anymore. "I'm thinking about changing the locks," I said quietly. Destiny set down her wine glass. "Do you think they'd actually show up and try to use a key?" "My father has a spare key. He insisted on it when he co-signed. Said it was for emergencies. But he's used it before. Twice that I know of. Once he let himself in while Lucas and I were at the grocery store because he wanted to check my water heater. Didn't ask permission, just did it. That's not okay. I know. I didn't fight it because I thought it would cause a huge argument, and I was trying to keep the peace. But there's no peace anymore. There's just me, being used." Destiny reached over and squeezed my hand. "Change the locks. Tomorrow. I'll come with you to the hardware store. We'll make a day of it." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not telling me I'm overreacting. For not saying they're still my family and I should forgive them." "Mariana, they ghosted a 5-year-old's birthday party, their own grandson, and now they want money from you? No, absolutely not. You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them anything." We talked for another hour. She helped me think through the practical steps. Change the locks. Document everything. Every text. Every missed event. Every broken promise. Prepare for backlash. Because there would be backlash. My father didn't handle defiance well. The next morning, Saturday, Destiny picked me up at 9. Lucas was at a playdate with his best friend from preschool, a standing weekend arrangement that gave me a few hours to handle adult tasks. We went to the hardware store and bought new deadbolts for both the front and back doors. The guy at the counter, an older man with kind eyes, showed us how to install them. "Easy enough," he said. "Anyone can do it with a screwdriver in about 20 minutes. Back at home, I changed both locks. The physical act of removing my father's key from the equation felt symbolic. Every turn of the screwdriver was a small revolution. When I finished, I stood on my front porch and looked at the new brass deadbolt. My house, my locks, my rules. My phone buzzed with another text from my father. "Mariana, it's been 2 days. I need that money transferred by tomorrow, or we can't confirm the venue for Tyler's party. Stop playing games." Playing games, as if my entire life wasn't a game to them. One where the rules kept changing to benefit everyone but me. I texted back. I sent what I could afford. Best wishes to Tyler. 3 dots appeared immediately, showing he was typing. They disappeared. Appeared again. This happened 4 times before his response finally came through. "What you sent was insulting. Your brother deserves better than your petty behavior. We'll discuss this in person. I'll be by your house tomorrow at noon." My heart rate spiked. Tomorrow was Sunday. Lucas would be home. I didn't want him to witness whatever confrontation was coming. I texted Destiny. "My father is coming here tomorrow at noon. Can Lucas stay with you for a few hours?" Her response was immediate. "Absolutely. Bring him over at 11. We'll make cookies." I made another decision right then. I called Gregory, the real estate attorney. He answered on the 3rd ring. Hi, Gregory. It's Mariana. We spoke a few months ago about the house refinancing. Of course. Is everything all right with the paperwork? The paperwork is fine, but I think I'm going to need legal documentation proving the house is solely in my name now. Something official I can show someone if needed. Can you help with that? There was a pause. Is someone disputing your ownership? Not yet, but they might try, and I want to be prepared. I can have certified copies of the deed and mortgage documents ready by Monday morning. I'll also draft a letter summarizing the ownership transfer if you think that would help. That would be perfect. Thank you. After I hung up, I sat in my quiet house and let myself feel the fear. Because I was scared. Terrified, actually. I was challenging my father's authority for the first time in my life, and I knew he wouldn't take it well. But I was also exhausted. Exhausted from trying to earn love that should have been freely given. Exhausted from watching my son's face fall every time my family chose not to show up. Exhausted from being the designated family doormat. Something my therapist had said once came back to me. You can't control how other people treat you. You can only control how you respond. I was responding. Finally. That night, I lay in bed and thought about what would happen tomorrow. My father would show up expecting to lecture me, expecting me to cave and transfer the money like I always did. He'd probably threaten to use his key if I didn't answer the door quickly enough. Except he wouldn't have a key that worked anymore. And the house he thought gave him power over me was no longer his to claim. I didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined the confrontation. His anger. My mother's tears. The accusations of being ungrateful, selfish. A bad daughter. But then I'd think of Lucas asking if he'd done something wrong. And the fear would transform into something harder. Determination. Sunday morning, I took Lucas to Destiny's apartment. I packed his favorite toys, some snacks, and told him he got to have a special cookie-making day with Auntie Destiny. "Why can't you stay, Mama?" he asked. "I have some boring grown-up stuff to handle at home, but I'll pick you up in a few hours and we'll get ice cream, okay?" His face lit up. "Okay." Destiny gave me a hug at the door. "You've got this. Call me if you need backup." "I will." I drove home with my hands shaking slightly on the steering wheel. At 11:45, I made sure all the curtains were closed. I didn't want my father seeing inside. Didn't want him to think he had any right to my space. At exactly noon, I heard a car pull into my driveway. Through the peephole, I watched my father get out, my mother in the passenger seat staying put. Typical. She'd let him handle the confrontation, then claim later she had tried to keep the peace. He walked up to my front door with the confidence of someone who expected to be obeyed. I watched him knock, counted to 10, knocked again, harder. Then I watched him reach into his pocket and pull out a key. I watched through the peephole as my father inserted the key into the lock. He turned it once, twice. His face registered confusion when the lock didn't budge. He tried again, jiggling the key more forcefully. Nothing. He stepped back, examined the key as if it had somehow transformed into the wrong one, then tried the lock again. I could see the exact moment realization hit. His jaw clenched, his face darkened. He pounded on the door. "Mariana, open this door right now!" I took a deep breath and opened it, leaving the chain lock engaged so only a few inches of space showed between us. "Hi, Dad." His eyes went to the chain, then back to me. "What's going on?" "My key doesn't work." I changed the locks. Silence. Complete stunned silence. I watched him process this information, watched his expression shift from confusion to anger. "You changed the locks? To your house? Without telling me?" "It's my house. I can change the locks whenever I want." His face was turning red now. "I co-signed that mortgage. I have a right to access. You co-signed the original mortgage 3 years ago. I refinanced last month. Your name isn't on anything anymore. So no, you don't have a right to access. I had never seen my father look quite so shocked. His mouth opened and closed like he couldn't find words. Behind him, I could see my mother getting out of the car now, clearly sensing something was wrong. You refinanced? He finally managed. When? Why wasn't I informed? I wasn't required to inform you. It's my property. Mariana, what has gotten into you? First you send an insulting dollar to your brother. Now you're changing locks and going behind my back with legal matters? I didn't go behind your back. I handled my own business. There's a difference. My mother reached the porch. What's happening? Gary, why are you shouting? Your daughter has apparently lost her mind. She changed the locks and refinanced the house without telling us. My mother's eyes widened. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Mariana, honey, why would you do that? Because it's my house, and I wanted new locks. But your father has always had a key for emergencies. There won't be any emergencies that require him to let himself into my home unannounced. My father's voice rose. This is about the money, isn't it? You're throwing a tantrum because I asked you to contribute to your brother's graduation party. You didn't ask. You demanded. And you demanded it 3 days after you all skipped Lucas's birthday party without even a phone call. We explained that. Your mother had a migraine. And Tyler? Bethany? What were their excuses? My mother jumped in. Bethany had a work thing, and Tyler was busy with finals. Finals ended 2 weeks before Lucas's party. I know because Tyler posted about being done with school all over social media. My father stepped closer to the door, and I instinctively stepped back even though the chain held. You're being incredibly selfish right now. Your brother's graduation is a major milestone. The party is important to him. And my son's 5th birthday wasn't important? That's different. Lucas is a child. He doesn't understand these things yet. The words hung in the air like poison. My hands trembled with rage. Get off my property. My father's eyes narrowed. Excuse me? You heard me. This is my house, my property, and I'm asking you to leave. Mariana, let's just calm down and talk about this, my mother said, her voice taking on that placating tone I knew so well. We're family. We don't need to be so hostile. You're right. We are family, which is why you should have shown up for your grandson's birthday. Which is why you should have called to apologize instead of demanding money from me 3 days later. We're asking for help with a family celebration, my father said. That's what families do. They help each other. Then where was my help when Lucas was born? Where was my help when my car broke down and you made me pay back every penny? Where was my help when I was working double shifts just to afford diapers and you bought Tyler a $12,000 car? My mother flinched. We've always treated you all fairly. That's a lie, and you know it. My father's face was pure fury now. How dare you speak to your mother that way? We raised you better than this. Did you? Because from where I'm standing, you raised me to accept scraps while Tyler and Bethany got everything. You raised me to be useful, not loved. That's not true. My mother's voice cracked. We love all our children equally. Then prove it. Send me copies of every check you've written to Tyler over the past 5 years, every car payment you've covered for him, every credit card bill you've paid for Bethany. Let's add it all up and see if it equals what you've given me. Silence. Neither of them said a word. That's what I thought. I started to close the door. My father slammed his hand against it. If you don't open this door right now and have a civil conversation, there will be consequences. What consequences? You can't threaten me with the house anymore. You have no power here. We're your parents. We have every right to expect respect and support from our daughter. And I had every right to expect my parents to show up for their grandson's birthday. Guess we're both disappointed. I closed the door, locked the deadbolt, engaged the chain. Through the wood, I could hear my father shouting, "This isn't over, Mariana. You can't treat family this way." I walked to the kitchen, my whole body shaking. I poured myself a glass of water and tried to steady my breathing. Outside, I could hear my mother trying to calm my father down, their voices gradually fading as they presumably returned to their car. My phone started ringing. My father. I declined the call. It rang again. Declined. A text came through. "You're making a huge mistake. We're going to fix this, whether you like it or not." What did that mean? I stared at the message, feeling uneasy. My father wasn't someone who made empty threats. Another text, this time from Tyler. "What the hell is your problem? Dad just called me freaking out. You changed the locks on the house he helped you buy? That's messed up." I typed back, "The house I bought, that I pay for, that's now entirely in my name. And maybe if you'd shown up for Lucas's birthday, we wouldn't be here." Tyler. "Lucas is a kid. He'll have plenty of birthdays. My graduation only happens once." The audacity was staggering. I didn't respond. Within seconds, my phone rang again. Tyler this time. I let it go to voicemail. Then Bethany called. I declined that too. A group text appeared, one that included my parents, Tyler, Bethany, and me. My father had started it. "Family meeting, tonight at 6, at our house. Mariana, you need to be there. This behavior stops now." I stared at the message. The presumption that I would just show up, that I would fall in line like always, made my blood boil. I typed, "No." Just that. One word. My father. "This isn't optional." Me. "I'm an adult. It's absolutely optional, and I'm declining." Tyler. "Come on, Mariana. Stop being dramatic." Bethany. "We just want to talk. Why are you being so difficult?" My mother. "Please, honey, let's work this out as a family." I turned my phone on silent and set it face down on the counter. I couldn't deal with this anymore. Not right now. I called Destiny. "Can I pick up Lucas in an hour instead of now? I need a minute." "Take all the time you need. He's having a blast. We're on cookie number 3. "Thank you. I'll explain everything when I get there." I sat at my kitchen table and let myself cry. Not sad tears. Angry tears. Frustrated tears. Relieved tears. All mixed together into a confusing mess of emotion. I had just stood up to my father for the first time in my life. I had set a boundary and enforced it. But instead of feeling triumphant, I felt terrified, because I knew this wasn't over. My father's text had promised consequences, and he always followed through on his threats. What scared me most was that I didn't know what those consequences might be. An hour later, I drove to Destiny's apartment to pick up Lucas. He came running to the door with chocolate on his face and a huge smile. "Mama, we made so many cookies, and Auntie Destiny let me put extra chocolate chips." I scooped him up, breathing in his little kid smell of sugar and soap. "That sounds amazing, buddy." Destiny pulled me aside while Lucas gathered his toys. "How did it go?" "About as well as expected. He tried to use his old key, realized it didn't work, and lost his mind. I told them to leave. Now my entire family is having a meltdown via group text." "Let me see." I handed her my phone. She scrolled through the messages, her expression growing darker with each screen. "They're delusional. Completely delusional. Listen to this. We just want to talk." "No, they want to bully you into compliance." "I know. Are you going to the family meeting?" "Absolutely not." "Good. Don't give them that power." She handed back my phone. "What do you think they'll do next?" "I don't know. That's what worries me." Lucas came bouncing back with his backpack. "Ready, Mama." We said goodbye to Destiny, and I drove Lucas home. The whole drive, he chattered about cookies and how Auntie Destiny taught him a new song. His innocence, his joy. It reminded me why I was doing this. Not for me, for him. So he'd grow up knowing he deserved better than what I'd accepted. That evening, at exactly 6 o'clock, my phone exploded with notifications. The family meeting had apparently started without me, and they were not happy about my absence. Tyler, seriously? You're really not coming? Bethany, this is so disrespectful. My mother, we're all here waiting for you. Please reconsider. My father, your absence speaks volumes about your character. I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I made dinner for Lucas, chicken nuggets and green beans, his favorite. We ate together at the kitchen table, and he told me about a spider he'd seen at preschool last week. It was this big, Mama. He spread his hands about 2 inches apart. Wow, that's huge. Yeah, and Miss Katie said it was a garden spider, and they're friendly. That's good to know. After dinner, bath time, and 2 bedtime stories, I tucked Lucas into bed. He looked up at me with those big brown eyes. Mama, are we going to have another birthday party for me? My heart clenched. What do you mean, honey? Like a do-over party, since Grandpa and Grandma and Uncle Tyler didn't come to the first one? Oh, sweetheart. I sat on the edge of his bed and brushed his curls back. We already had your party. You had all your friends there, and it was so much fun, remember? Yeah, but I wanted to show Grandpa my new bike. I know you did. Do you think they'll come next year? I wanted to lie, wanted to protect him from the truth. But I also didn't want to give him false hope. I don't know, baby. But you know what I do know? That you are so loved. By me, by Auntie Destiny, by all your friends. And that's what matters. He thought about this for a moment. Okay, Mama. Okay. Now get some sleep. We have park day tomorrow, remember? His face brightened. Oh, yeah. Can we go on the swings? As many times as you want. After he fell asleep, I went to my own room and checked my phone. 17 missed calls, 34 text messages, all from various family members. The messages had evolved from annoyed to angry to almost frantic. My mother. Mariana, please call us. Your father is very upset. Tyler. You're being a child. Just apologize and send the money. Bethany. I can't believe you're doing this to Mom and Dad. They don't deserve this. My father. Last chance. Call me by 9 tonight or I'm coming to your house tomorrow and we're settling this. It was 8:45. I had 15 minutes to decide if I was going to call him back. I didn't. At 9:15, my father sent one final text. Fine, have it your way, but don't say I didn't warn you. I lay in bed that night, anxiety churning in my stomach. What did he mean? What was he going to do? The next morning was Monday. I dropped Lucas at preschool and went to work. My dental practice was busy, which was good. It kept my mind occupied. Between patients, I checked my phone. Nothing from my family. The silence felt ominous. During my lunch break, I drove to Gregory's office to pick up the certified documents he'd promised. He handed me a thick manila envelope. Everything you need is in here. Certified copies of the new deed, the refinanced mortgage documents, and a letter from me explaining the ownership transfer with legal citations. If anyone questions your ownership, this should clear it up immediately. Thank you so much. Can I ask what's going on? You seem stressed. I gave him a brief summary. His expression grew concerned. Keep these documents somewhere safe, and if things escalate, don't hesitate to call the police. Family dynamics can get complicated, but the law is clear. It's your property. I drove back to work with the envelope on my passenger seat, feeling slightly better. I had proof, legal, certified proof that the house was mine. The afternoon passed uneventfully. I picked up Lucas from preschool, and we went to the park like I'd promised. Watching him on the swings, hearing his laughter, reminded me what mattered. We got home around 5:30. Lucas went straight to his toy box while I started preparing dinner. I was chopping vegetables when I heard a car pull into my driveway. Through the kitchen window, I saw my father's car, and my mother's, and Tyler's truck, and Bethany's sedan. They were all here. My stomach dropped. I quickly pulled out my phone and texted Destiny. My entire family just showed up at my house, all of them. Her response was immediate. Do you want me to come over? Not yet, but stay on standby. I watched as they all got out of their vehicles and approached my front door. My father led the way, my mother beside him. Tyler and Bethany followed. The doorbell rang. Lucas looked up from his toys. Who's that, Mama? Just some visitors, honey. Stay here, okay? Keep playing. I walked to the front door and looked through the peephole. All 4 of them stood on my porch, looking like an intervention team. I opened the door with the chain still engaged. We need to talk, my father said without preamble. No, we don't. Mariana, please, my mother said. Let us in. Let's discuss this like adults. There's nothing to discuss. I'm not giving you money for Tyler's party. The house is in my name. End of discussion. Tyler pushed forward. Come on. This is ridiculous. Just let us in. No. My father's voice hardened. Mariana, if you don't open this door right now, we're going to have a serious problem. I'm not opening the door. You need to leave. This is our grandson's home too. We have a right to see him. Lucas, my mother called past me. Lucas, honey, it's Grandma. I felt rage flood through me. Do not call for my son. You had your chance to see him at his birthday party. You chose not to show up. We explained that, Bethany said. Why can't you just let it go? Because it's a pattern, Bethany, and I'm done pretending it's okay. My father pulled out his phone. Last chance, Mariana. Open the door, or I'm calling the police. I blinked. You're calling the police? For what? You're keeping us from our grandson. That could be considered alienation. That's not what parental alienation means, and you know it. I'm asking you to leave my property. That's my legal right. We'll see what the police have to say about that. I watched in disbelief as my father actually dialed. He was really doing this. Really calling the police because I wouldn't let him into my house. Yes, I need to report a situation, my father said into his phone, his voice taking on a concerned, reasonable tone. My daughter is refusing to let us see our grandson. We're at her house now, and she won't even talk to us properly. We're worried about the child's welfare. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He was twisting the entire situation, making it sound like I was the problem, like Lucas was in danger. The address is 2847 Maple Street, he continued. Yes, we'll wait here. Thank you. He hung up and looked at me with satisfaction. The police are on their way. Maybe they can talk some sense into you. My hands were shaking, but I forced my voice to stay calm. You're making a mistake. The only mistake is yours. You've forgotten who your family is. We're here to remind you. I closed the door and engaged the deadbolt. My heart was racing. I had maybe 15 minutes before the police arrived. I needed to be prepared. I grabbed the manila envelope from Gregory and pulled out all the documents, laying them on my coffee table where they'd be easy to access. Then I pulled out my phone and opened my photo app. I scrolled back 3 days to Lucas's birthday party. I had taken so many photos. The decorated backyard, the bounce house, the superhero cake, and time-stamped throughout the afternoon. Photos of Lucas by the window, waiting, looking at the driveway, checking the door. I also had screenshots. Every text message from the week before the party where I'd confirmed with my parents, Tyler, and Bethany that they were coming. Every, yes, we'll be there, response. Every broken promise documented. The group texts from Sunday were there too. The demands for money. The hostile messages when I refused. I opened a voice recording app and hit record. If the police were coming, I wanted documentation of every word said from this point forward. Lucas came into the living room. "Mama, why are Grandpa and Grandma outside?" I knelt down to his level. "They wanted to visit, but now's not a good time. Some police officers might come by to talk to Mama for a minute, okay? It's nothing to worry about. Just boring grown-up stuff." His eyes got wide. "Police? Like the ones with the cars that go wee-oo, wee-oo?" Exactly like that. But remember, police officers are helpers. They're going to help Mama explain something. You just stay in here and play, okay? "Okay, Mama." 12 minutes later, I saw the police cruiser pull up. One officer got out, a woman in her 40s with her hair pulled back in a tight bun. She approached my porch where my family was still standing. I could hear muffled conversation through the door. My father's voice, animated and concerned. My mother's softer responses. The officer asking questions. Then there was a knock. "Ma'am, this is Officer Patricia Keene with the Milwaukee Police Department. Can you open the door, please?" I took a deep breath, picked up the manila envelope, and opened the door. This time I removed the chain entirely and stepped out onto the porch, pulling the door closed behind me so Lucas wouldn't hear. "Hello, officer." She looked at me carefully. "I'm Officer Keene. Are you Mariana?" "Yes." "Your father called with concerns about his grandson's welfare and reported that you're refusing to let family members see the child. Can you tell me what's going on here?" My father started to speak, but Officer Keene held up a hand. "Sir, I'd like to hear from her first, please." I took another breath. "My son is fine. He's inside playing with his toys. He had his 5th birthday party last week, and my parents, brother, and sister were all invited. They confirmed they would attend. None of them showed up, not even a phone call to say they couldn't make it. 3 days later, my father texted demanding $2,200 for my brother's graduation party. When I declined, he became hostile. Yesterday he showed up here with my mother, and when his key didn't work because I'd changed the locks on my own home, he became angry. Today, the entire family showed up unannounced, and when I asked them to leave, my father threatened to call the police, which he did. Officer Keene's expression didn't change, but I saw her eyes shift to my father. "Is this accurate?" "That's a very one-sided version of events," my father said. "What she's not telling you is that I co-signed the mortgage on this house. I have a vested interest and a right to access. Do you currently co-own the property?" "Well, I co-signed the original mortgage." "That's not what I asked. Are you currently listed as an owner on the deed?" My father hesitated. "I'm not sure about the current status." I pulled out the documents. "Officer, I refinanced the house last month. My father's name was removed from all ownership documents. The house is solely in my name. I have certified copies of the deed and mortgage here if you'd like to see them." Officer Keene took the papers and examined them carefully. She looked at the dates, the signatures, the official stamps. Then she looked at my father. "Sir, according to these documents, you have no legal ownership of this property. Is that correct?" My father's jaw clenched. "The original mortgage..." "Sir, the original mortgage is no longer relevant. The property was refinanced and is now solely in your daughter's name, which means she has every right to deny you access and to ask you to leave." "But she's keeping us from our grandson." "Is there a custody agreement in place?" Officer Keene asked me. "No. I have sole custody. Lucas's father isn't involved." "Have there been any court orders granting grandparent visitation?" "No." Officer Keene turned back to my father. "Then she's well within her rights to determine who has access to her child. There's no legal issue here." "This is family business," my mother interjected. "Can't you see she's being unreasonable? We just want to talk to our daughter and see our grandson." Ma'am, what I see is a woman standing on her own property asking you to leave. That's her legal right. If you refuse to leave, you're trespassing. Tyler stepped forward. This is insane. She's our sister. We're not strangers. Family dynamics don't override property rights, Officer Keene said firmly. Mariana, do you want to press trespassing charges? I looked at my family. My father's red face, my mother's tears, Tyler's disbelief, Bethany's shock. Part of me wanted to say yes, wanted to press charges just to drive home how serious I was. But another part of me, the part that was exhausted and just wanted peace, couldn't do it. No charges. I just want them to leave and not come back unless invited. Officer Keene nodded. She turned to my family. You heard her. You need to leave this property now. If you return without her permission, she can call us back and press trespassing charges. Do you understand? My father opened his mouth to argue, but Officer Keene's expression stopped him. Do you understand, sir? Yes, he said through gritted teeth. Good. I suggest you all leave now. I watched as my family slowly walked back to their cars. My mother was crying openly now. Bethany put an arm around her. Tyler shot me a look of pure disgust before getting in his truck. My father was the last to leave. He stopped at his car door and looked back at me. You're going to regret this, Mariana. You're throwing away your family over money and pride. I met his eyes. I'm protecting my son from people who don't value him. That's not something I'll ever regret. He got in his car and slammed the door. Officer Keene waited until all the vehicles had pulled away before turning back to me. Are you okay? I think so. Thank you for listening to both sides. It's my job. But for what it's worth, you did the right thing. Those documents saved you a lot of hassle. She paused. Can I give you some advice? Please. Document everything. Keep records of all communication. If they show up again, call us immediately, and consider getting a restraining order if the harassment continues. I will. Thank you, Officer Keene. She handed me her card. If you need anything, don't hesitate to call. After she left, I stood on my porch for a long moment, just breathing. My legs felt weak, my hands were still shaking. But I'd done it. I'd stood my ground, and my family had been forced to leave. I went back inside where Lucas was still playing with his blocks, oblivious to the drama that had just unfolded. Is everything okay, Mama? I sat down next to him on the floor. Everything's okay, buddy. Everything's just fine. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. My phone, which had been exploding with messages and calls, went completely silent. No texts from my parents. No angry calls from Tyler. No guilt-tripping messages from Bethany. The silence felt worse than the confrontation. I went to work, picked up Lucas from preschool, made dinners, read bedtime stories. Normal life continued, but I felt like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. My father's parting words echoed in my mind. You're going to regret this. On Wednesday evening, 4 days after the police had removed my family from my property, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Is this Mariana? A woman's voice, professional and unfamiliar. Yes, who's calling? My name is Jennifer, and I'm calling from Child Protective Services. We received a report about your 5-year-old son, Lucas. I'd like to schedule a home visit to follow up on some concerns that were raised. My blood ran cold. What concerns? I can't discuss the specifics over the phone, but I assure you this is standard procedure when we receive a report. Would tomorrow afternoon work for a visit? Around 2? My mind was racing. A report. Someone had reported me to CPS, and I knew exactly who. Yes, tomorrow at 2 is fine. Thank you. I'll see you then. After I hung up, I sat staring at my phone, My hands were shaking again, but this time with pure rage. My father had actually called CPS on me. He'd reported me as an unfit mother because I wouldn't give him money and wouldn't let him control my life anymore. I called Destiny immediately. He called CPS on me. My father actually called CPS. What? Are you serious? A caseworker named Jennifer is coming tomorrow at 2 for a home visit. They received a report with concerns about Lucas. That's insane. Lucas is healthy, happy, well cared for. Anyone with eyes can see that. I know, but I have to prove it now. I have to let a stranger come into my home and inspect how I parent, because my father is vindictive enough to weaponize the system against me. Destiny was quiet for a moment. Okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to clean your house tonight. Make sure everything is organized, safe, and tidy. Tomorrow, before the caseworker arrives, I'm coming over. I'm bringing documentation. What kind of documentation? Lucas's preschool records showing perfect attendance and no concerns. Pictures from his birthday party showing a happy, healthy kid. Character references if you need them. We're going to make it impossible for them to find anything wrong, because there isn't anything wrong. Thank you, I whispered. And Mariana, after this is over, you need to consider that restraining order Officer Keene mentioned. Your father has escalated this beyond family drama. She was right. I knew she was right. That night, after Lucas went to bed, I cleaned my house more thoroughly than I ever had. I organized Lucas's toys, wiped down every surface, checked that all medications were properly stored and labeled, made sure there was plenty of healthy food in the refrigerator and pantry. I gathered Lucas's medical records, his preschool reports, his growth charts from his pediatrician. I barely slept. The next day, I took a personal day from work. Destiny arrived at noon with a folder full of documents. Preschool records, she said, spreading papers on my kitchen table. I called Miss Katie and explained the situation. She wrote a letter detailing Lucas's development, social skills, and general well-being. She also noted that you're always on time for pickup and drop-off, you attend all parent-teacher conferences, and you volunteer for class activities. She did that for me? She was horrified when I told her someone reported you to CPS. She said it's obviously malicious and she'd be happy to testify to that if needed. I felt tears prick my eyes. I don't deserve you. Yes, you do. Now, I also have photos from the birthday party, your pediatrician's contact information, and a list of character references including me, Miss Katie, and 3 of your coworkers who've known you for years. At exactly 2 o'clock, Jennifer from CPS arrived. She was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with kind eyes and a professional demeanor. I invited her in, introduced Destiny as my friend who was there for moral support. Jennifer walked through the house, making notes. She asked to see Lucas's bedroom, the kitchen, the bathroom. She checked that cleaning supplies were stored safely, that there were working smoke detectors, that the home was clean and well-maintained. Then she asked to speak with Lucas. I brought him out from his room where he'd been playing. He looked at Jennifer with curiosity but no fear. Hi, Lucas. My name is Jennifer. I just want to ask you a few questions, okay? Okay, he said, climbing onto the couch next to me. Do you like living here? Yeah, I have my own room with dinosaur sheets. That sounds cool. Does your mom make sure you have food to eat? Uh-huh. We had chicken nuggets yesterday. They're my favorite. Does your mom ever hurt you or scare you? Lucas looked confused. No, Mama gives the best hugs. Jennifer smiled. I bet she does. Do you go to school? Preschool. Miss Katie is my teacher and she's really nice. The questions continued for about 10 minutes. Lucas answered each one honestly and cheerfully, completely unaware of the weight they carried. After Jennifer finished with Lucas, I sent him back to his room to play. She sat down across from me and Destiny at the kitchen table. I'm going to be honest with you, Mariana. The report we received alleged neglect, specifically that your child was being denied access to family members and potentially kept in an unsafe environment. Based on what I've seen today and my conversation with Lucas, none of those allegations appear to be true. They're not, I said firmly. Can I ask who made the report? Reports are confidential, but I can tell you that the caller identified themselves as the child's grandfather. There it was. Confirmation. My father called because I refused to give him money and set boundaries about access to my home. 4 days ago, police had to remove him and other family members from my property for trespassing. Jennifer's eyebrows rose. I see. Do you have documentation of that? I showed her Officer Keen's card and explained the entire situation. Destiny provided the additional documentation we'd prepared. Jennifer reviewed everything carefully. Finally, she closed her notebook. I'm going to close this case as unfounded. Lucas is clearly well cared for. Your home is safe and appropriate, and there's no evidence of neglect or abuse. In fact, all evidence points to you being a dedicated, attentive parent. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. However, I do want to note in my report that this appears to be a malicious complaint related to a family conflict. If your father calls again with similar allegations, that history will be on file. After Jennifer left, I collapsed onto my couch. Destiny sat next to me and put her arm around my shoulders. You did it. You got through it. He used CPS as a weapon against me, Destiny. He tried to have my son taken away because I wouldn't obey him. I know, and that's why you need to protect yourself legally. This isn't going to stop unless you make it stop. She was right. I'd been hesitant about a restraining order because it felt so final, so dramatic. But my father had proven he was willing to go to any length to punish me for defying him. The next morning, I called a family law attorney. The attorney's name was Vanessa, and she came highly recommended by Gregory, the real estate lawyer who'd helped me with the house refinancing. Her office was downtown, decorated with diplomas and family photos that made the space feel both professional and welcoming. I told her everything. The pattern of favoritism growing up, the financial manipulation, Lucas's birthday party, the money demand, the police being called, and finally, the CPS report. Vanessa listened without interrupting, taking notes occasionally. When I finished, she set down her pen and looked at me seriously. What you're describing is a clear pattern of harassment and attempted coercion. The CPS call is particularly concerning because it shows an escalation to tactics that could have serious consequences for you and your son. Can I get a restraining order based on this? Absolutely. We have documented trespassing with police involvement and a malicious report to Child Services. That's more than enough for a harassment restraining order. We can file for one that covers both you and Lucas. How long does it take? We can file for a temporary order immediately, which will go into effect as soon as it's served. Then there'll be a hearing within 2 weeks where a judge will decide whether to make it permanent. Given the evidence you have, I'm confident we'll get the permanent order. What will it do? What are the restrictions? It will legally require your father, and we can include your mother, brother, and sister if you want, to stay away from you, your home, your workplace, and Lucas. They won't be allowed to contact you directly or indirectly. If they violate the order, they can be arrested. The thought of my entire family being legally banned from my life felt surreal, but also necessary. Let's do it. Just my father for now. If the others keep harassing me, I can add them later, right? Correct. We'll start with your father since he's been the primary aggressor. We spent the next hour filling out paperwork. Vanessa helped me organize my evidence chronologically. The birthday party invitations and confirmations, the screenshots of everyone saying they'd attend, the photos of Lucas waiting by the window, the money demand text, the hostile messages, Officer Keen's report, the CPS case number. This is solid, Vanessa said, reviewing the file. Very solid. Your father made this easy by documenting his own harassment via text message. When will it be served? I'll file this afternoon. Service typically happens within 48 hours. Once he's served with the temporary order, he'll receive notice of the hearing date. I left Vanessa's office feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Control. I was taking action. Real, legal action that would protect Lucas and me. That evening, I was making dinner when my phone rang. Tyler. I'd been ignoring his calls all week, but something made me answer this one. What? Don't hang up, please. I need to talk to you about Dad. I don't want to hear it, Tyler. Just listen. He's losing it, Mariana. Like, actually losing it. He's been calling everyone in the family, ranting about you, about the house, about how you've betrayed us. Mom's worried he's going to have a heart attack from the stress. That's not my problem. He called CPS on you. I know he did. I told him it was crazy, but he wouldn't listen. I paused. You told him not to? Of course I did. Even I know that's too far. But he's convinced you're an unfit mother because you won't let him control your life anymore. Then maybe you should be having this conversation with him, not me. I tried. We all tried. He won't listen to anyone. He's planning something else, Mariana. I don't know what, but he keeps saying you need to learn your lesson. My stomach tightened. What does that mean? I don't know. But I wanted to warn you. Whatever you're doing to protect yourself, keep doing it. Why are you telling me this? Tyler was quiet for a moment. Because I've been thinking about Lucas's birthday party, about how we all just didn't show up, and how that must have felt for him. For you. And then Dad demanded money 3 days later like nothing happened. That was wrong, Mariana. I should have said something then. But you didn't. No, I didn't. I went along with it like I always do because it's easier than standing up to Dad. But what he's doing now, calling CPS, that's not okay. That's dangerous. Thank you for the warning, I said quietly. But Tyler, I need you to understand something. I'm done. I'm completely done trying to have a relationship with people who treat me like this. Including you. I get it. I do. I just wanted you to know. Be careful. After we hung up, I sat with Tyler's warning. My father was planning something else. More escalation. More attempts to punish me. Good thing I was already one step ahead. 2 days later, on Saturday morning, there was a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw a man in a suit holding a folder. I opened the door with the chain engaged. Mariana. Yes? I'm a process server. I need to serve these documents to Gary. He checked his papers. Who I was told might be here. He doesn't live here. This is my house. The address I have is listed as his last known residence. That's incorrect. He's never lived here. I can give you his actual address. I wrote down my parents' address and handed it through the gap in the door. The process server thanked me and left. I smiled. My father had apparently been using my address for something. Maybe mail. Maybe as a backup address for legal purposes. Either way, whatever documents were being served to him, he was about to receive them at his actual home. That afternoon, I got my own visit from a process server, but this one was expected. It was confirmation that my father had been served with the temporary restraining order. My phone started ringing within an hour. My mother. I let it go to voicemail. She called again, and again. Finally, I listened to the voicemail. Mariana, what have you done? Your father just got served with some kind of court order saying he can't contact you or see Lucas. This is going too far. You need to drop this immediately. Call me back. I deleted the message. Another call came, this time from Bethany. Are you serious right now? A restraining order against Dad? Because of what? Money? You've officially lost your mind. Mom is hysterical. Fix this. Delete. Tyler texted. I warned you he was planning something. I didn't think you'd go nuclear first. Restraining order? Really? I replied. He called CPS and tried to have Lucas taken away. I'm protecting my son. Don't contact me again. That evening, Destiny came over with wine and takeout. We sat on my couch while Lucas played in his room. "How do you feel?" she asked. Terrified, relieved, guilty, angry, everything all at once. "The guilt will fade. You're doing the right thing." "Am I? I just got a restraining order against my own father." "Your father who called CPS on you with false allegations. Your father who showed up at your house with your entire family to intimidate you. Your father who has financially and emotionally manipulated you your whole life. Yeah, Mariana, you are absolutely doing the right thing." I took a sip of wine. "The hearing is in 10 days. Do you think he'll show up?" "Definitely. He'll want to tell the judge his side of the story. Paint me as the ungrateful daughter who abandoned her family over money. Good thing you have evidence to prove otherwise." The next 10 days were the longest of my life. I went to work, took care of Lucas, prepared for the hearing with Vanessa. My family tried to contact me through every method they could think of. My mother created a new email account to send me long messages about how I was tearing the family apart. Bethany showed up at my workplace, forcing my office manager to ask her to leave. Tyler sent letters through the mail. I saved everything. Every email, every attempted contact, every violation of the spirit of the temporary order. Vanessa told me it would all help at the hearing. The hearing was on a Wednesday morning. I took the day off work and met Vanessa at the courthouse. My stomach was in knots as we waited in the hallway outside the courtroom. "Remember," Vanessa said, "answer questions directly and honestly. Don't get emotional if you can help it. Stick to the facts." What if he lies? What if he tells the judge I'm the problem? Then we show the evidence. We have documentation of everything. His words versus your proof. The proof will win. At 9 o'clock, we entered the courtroom. My father was already there with his own attorney, a stern-looking man in an expensive suit. My mother sat in the gallery behind him, her face blotchy from crying. Tyler and Bethany were there too. I sat at the table with Vanessa and tried to breathe. The judge entered, and we all stood. Judge Margaret Sullivan was a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "We're here for a harassment restraining order petition filed by Mariana against Gary. Let's begin with the petitioner. Ms. Vanessa, please present your case." Vanessa stood and methodically walked through everything. She presented the texts showing the money demand, the photos from Lucas's birthday party with timestamps, the police report from when my family was removed from my property, the CPS case number and Jennifer's report stating the complaint was unfounded and appeared malicious. "Your Honor," Vanessa concluded, "the respondent has engaged in a clear pattern of harassment escalating to the use of government agencies as weapons of retaliation when the petitioner established reasonable boundaries. This behavior poses a threat to both the petitioner and her minor child." Judge Sullivan reviewed the evidence carefully. Then she looked at my father's attorney. "Counselor, your response." My father's attorney stood. "Your Honor, this is a family dispute that has been blown out of proportion. Mr. Gary is a concerned father and grandfather who has been unfairly cut off from his family. The petitioner changed the locks on a home he helped her obtain, refused to contribute to a family celebration, and has alienated him from his grandson. He made one call to CPS out of genuine concern. One call to CPS with allegations that were investigated and found to be completely unfounded," Judge Sullivan interrupted. "That's in the record. Perhaps he was mistaken about the conditions. Or perhaps, as the CPS investigator noted, it was a malicious complaint related to a family conflict. Continue." The attorney shifted uncomfortably. "Your Honor, families have disagreements. That doesn't warrant a restraining order. Mr. Gary has never physically threatened his daughter. He simply wanted to have a conversation. A conversation that required bringing the entire family to her home after she'd asked him to leave. A conversation that required police intervention. He was attempting to resolve the situation by trespassing on her property after she'd revoked his access." I could see my father's attorney struggling. The evidence was overwhelming. and Judge Sullivan clearly wasn't buying his arguments. "Does your client wish to testify?" the judge asked. "Yes, Your Honor." My father took the stand. He placed his hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. Then his attorney began questioning him. "Mr. Gary, can you explain your relationship with your daughter?" "I've always tried to be a good father. I helped her when she needed it. I co-signed her mortgage when she was a young single mother. I've been there for her." "And what happened to change that relationship?" "She became hostile when I asked her to contribute to her brother's graduation party. It was a reasonable request, family members supporting each other. But she refused and sent $1 as an insult." "Why did you go to her house with other family members?" "We were concerned. She'd changed the locks without telling us, refused to communicate. We wanted to make sure our grandson was okay." "And the CPS call?" My father's face reddened slightly. "I was worried. She was behaving erratically, cutting off family. I thought maybe Lucas wasn't being properly cared for." Vanessa stood for cross-examination. "Mr. Gary, you testified that you've always been there for your daughter. Is that correct?" "Yes." "Were you there for your grandson's 5th birthday party on the 17th of last month?" His jaw tightened. "I couldn't make it. I had other obligations." "What obligations?" "I don't recall specifically." "You don't recall what was so important that you missed your grandson's birthday despite confirming you'd attend?" "It was a month ago. 3 weeks ago. And your wife, your son Tyler, your daughter Bethany, they also had mysterious obligations? We're a busy family. Too busy to call and let a 5-year-old know you weren't coming? Not even a text message?" Silence. "Mr. Gary, how much money have you given Tyler in the past 5 years?" "I don't see how that's relevant." "Your Honor, it goes to the pattern of treatment," Vanessa said. "I'll allow it," Judge Sullivan said. My father shifted in his seat. "I've helped him when he needed it." "How much?" "I don't keep exact records. Approximately. Maybe 20,000-30,000 over the years." "And how much have you given Mariana in that same time period?" "She hasn't needed as much help." "How much, Mr. Gary?" "I lent her $800 once. She paid it back." "So you've given your son $30,000 but lent your daughter $800, which she repaid. Is that accurate?" "Tyler has had more struggles." "Did those struggles include you buying him a $12,000 car after he totaled his previous vehicle driving drunk?" My father's attorney objected, but Judge Sullivan overruled. "Answer the question," she said. "Yes, I bought him a car. He's my son, and Mariana is your daughter, yet you demanded she pay you back $800. Does that seem equitable to you?" "That was different." "How? Please explain how it's different." My father couldn't answer. Vanessa continued her cross-examination, methodically destroying every claim he'd made. By the time she finished, he looked deflated and angry. Judge Sullivan called for a brief recess. When we reconvened, she delivered her ruling. "I've reviewed all the evidence presented today. The pattern is clear. Mr. Gary has engaged in harassment, trespassing, and made a malicious report to Child Protective Services when the petitioner established reasonable boundaries. The temporary restraining order is hereby made permanent for a period of 4 years. Mr. Gary is prohibited from contacting Mariana or Lucas directly or indirectly, from coming within 500 feet of their home, workplace, or Lucas's school. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. This court is adjourned." I heard my mother gasp behind me. Bethany started crying. Tyler put his head in his hands, but all I felt was relief. Outside the courtroom, Vanessa shook my hand. "You did great in there. Thank you for everything. You protected your son. That's what matters." I drove home feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The restraining order was permanent. 4 years of legally enforced peace. That evening, I got one last message from a number I didn't recognize. "You won today, but you lost your family. I hope you're happy." It was clearly from my father, using someone else's phone to circumvent the order. I forwarded it to Vanessa with a note. "Violation of the restraining order?" Her response came quickly. "Forward to police. Keep documentation. If he continues, we'll add contempt charges." I sent the information to Officer Keene and blocked the unknown number. In the months that followed, my father tried twice more to contact me through intermediaries. Each time, I documented it and reported it. On the second violation, he spent a night in jail for contempt. After that, the contact stopped entirely. My mother sent one final email through a new account, begging me to reconsider, to think about family, to forgive. I didn't respond. Bethany tried to approach me at the grocery store once. I reminded her she wasn't on the restraining order yet, but she could be. She left. Tyler stopped trying altogether. The consequences for my family were exactly what they'd earned. My father's reputation in their community suffered when word got out about the restraining order. My mother, who'd enabled his behavior for decades, found herself isolated from the family events she'd always controlled. Tyler's graduation party happened, but it was small and quiet. Apparently, no one wanted to contribute the money I'd refused to give. Bethany, who'd always relied on our parents for financial support, had to get a second job when they told her they couldn't help her anymore because of legal fees from fighting the restraining order. They'd built their lives on control and favoritism, and when I removed myself from that equation, the whole structure crumbled. As for me, I thrived. Lucas started kindergarten and made wonderful friends. I got a promotion at work. Destiny and I took Lucas to the zoo, to museums, to parks. We built a life full of people who actually showed up, who actually cared. On Lucas's 6th birthday, we had another party. Smaller this time. Just his school friends, Destiny, a few co-workers I'd grown close to, and Miss Katie from his old preschool. No family drama. No waiting by the window. Just a happy kid blowing out candles surrounded by people who loved him. As I watched him laugh with his friends, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. The pain of finally seeing my family clearly. The fear of standing up to them. The relief of legal protection. The peace of boundaries enforced. Sometimes revenge isn't about grand gestures or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it's simply refusing to play by rules designed to keep you small. Sometimes it's choosing yourself and your child over people who never chose you. I'd spent 29 years trying to earn my family's love. It took losing them completely to realize I'd never needed it in the first place. And honestly, I'd never been happier.